The rain was coming down in sheets, a relentless drumming against the windows, turning the outside world into a blurry gray canvas. Inside, I was snuggled on the living room couch, a mug of chamomile tea cooling in my hands, my thoughts drifting with the storm. Suddenly, the front door swung open, and Liam stumbled in, absolutely drenched. His dark hair was plastered to his forehead, his jacket clinging to his broad frame, and he left a trail of little puddles with every step. "You're going to catch your death of cold, showing up looking like that," I teased from the couch, half amused, half concerned. Liam shook his head like a wet puppy, sending droplets flying. He flashed that crooked grin of his, the one that always made my heart do this silly little flutter. "Well, hey, looks like I brought the whole ocean in with me." I tossed him a towel from the laundry basket. "Here, you goofball. Dry off before you turn my place into a swamp." He snagged the towel, scrubbing his hair with playful energy, and then his gaze locked onto mine. For a moment, something shifted in his eyes, a quiet, intense look that made my breath catch. Maybe it was the storm, or maybe it was something deeper. Liam and I had been inseparable since our college days. We'd navigated everything together: exams, heartbreaks, new jobs, long-distance moves, life's big adventures. He was my rock, the one constant in my ever-changing world. I trusted him with my life, even the parts of myself I usually kept hidden away. He shrugged off his sopping jacket and kicked off his boots. "Man, it's a deluge out there," he said, ambling over and sinking down next to me. The couch dipped with his weight, and that familiar scent of his, rain, soap, and that unmistakable Liam aroma, filled the air. "You need to get out of those wet clothes," I said, nudging him playfully. "You're soaking everything." He groaned dramatically, but stood up. "Bossy," he teased, a glint in his eye. "You adore it." I shot back without thinking. The words hung in the air, charged with a meaning I hadn't quite intended. His smile softened, and he really saw me. "Come on," I said, pushing past the awkwardness. "You still have stuff here, right?" "In your room," he replied, his voice a little husky. "Yeah," I mumbled. "Let's go then." I led the way down the hall, feeling a strange flutter in my stomach. We'd done this a million times before. Liam showing up after some escapade, crashing at my place, borrowing my old sweats. Nothing new, nothing to feel weird about. Yet, when I opened my bedroom door and stepped inside, the atmosphere changed. It felt warmer, more intimate, as if the very walls were holding their breath. I rummaged through the bottom drawer of my dresser, finally unearthing a pair of gray sweatpants and a faded blue t-shirt, both of which Liam had practically claimed as his own over the years. When I turned to hand them to him, he was closer than I expected. Too close. My breath hitched in my throat. I could feel the warmth radiating from his skin, see the tiny droplets of water clinging to his dark lashes, and then, in a voice barely louder than the storm raging outside, he murmured, "Lie down." I blinked, surprised. "What?" "Trust me, Elara. Just lie down," he said, his voice low and steady, like a comforting rumble. Every instinct told me to back away, to brush it off with a joke. But instead, I found myself doing as he said, easing onto the bed and settling against the pillows. I lay there, my heart pounding like a drum, watching him with wide, curious eyes. I half expected him to lean down and kiss me, to confess some deep secret he'd been holding on to for ages. But he didn't. Instead, he knelt beside the bed and gently started to slip off my socks. I squealed, instinctively pulling my feet away. "Liam, what in the world are you doing?" He chuckled, a warm, deep sound that sent shivers down my spine, chasing away some of the tension. "Your feet are like ice. I'm saving you from frostbite." Before I could protest, He grabbed a soft blanket from the chair, draped it over me, and began tucking it around me with such focused tenderness that I couldn't help but smile. "There," he said, surveying his handiwork with a satisfied nod. "Perfect." "You're such a dork," I muttered, but I was grinning. He didn't say anything. Instead, he climbed onto the bed beside me, fully clothed, and without a moment's hesitation, pulled me close. His arms were strong and sure, his body a welcome heat against the lingering chill on my skin. At first, I stiffened, my mind a whirlwind of confusion. We'd hugged before. Sure. We'd even fallen asleep watching movies, our limbs tangled in innocent friendship. But this felt different. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't casual. It was deliberate, full of intent. Liam tucked a strand of hair behind my ear and whispered, "You looked like you needed this." I swallowed hard, my throat tight. Outside, thunder crashed, and the rain beat against the windows like an impatient visitor. Inside, everything was still, suspended in a fragile quiet. I could hear the steady rhythm of Liam's heartbeat where my head rested against his chest. I had spent so long building walls around myself, convinced that love was something fleeting and fragile, something that could only lead to pain. But here, cradled in Liam's arms, I felt something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. Safe, cherished. I tilted my head up to look at him. His eyes were closed, his expression serene. "I think I'm falling for you," I blurted out, the words tumbling from my lips before I could stop them. His eyes fluttered open, his gaze locking onto mine, intense and unwavering. For a heartbeat, neither of us spoke. The world seemed to pause, holding its breath. Then Liam smiled, that same crooked, heart-melting smile, and he tightened his arms around me. "I know, Elara," he whispered back, pressing a soft kiss to my forehead. "I'm head over heels for you too, always have been." Tears welled up in my eyes. I blinked them away, burying my face against his chest. How had I been so blind? How had I spent all these years searching for something that had been right beside me all along? The storm outside raged on, but inside, a different kind of storm was breaking, one that washed away fear, doubt, and loneliness, leaving only something raw and real and profoundly beautiful in its place. We stayed like that for what felt like an eternity, wrapped in each other's embrace, saying everything we needed to say without uttering another word. Eventually, Liam gently tilted my chin up with his hand and kissed me. It wasn't fiery or desperate. It was soft, tender, full of wonder, like two souls finding their way home to each other for the first time. When he pulled away, I laughed through my tears. "You took your sweet time." "Hey," he said, feigning offense, his eyes sparkling. "I was waiting for you to catch up." We laughed together, the kind of laughter that bubbles up from the surface, clearing away years of confusion and uncertainty. That night, we lay side by side, talking about everything and nothing, our dreams, our fears, those silly, unforgettable memories from college. Every now and then, Liam would reach over and gently brush his fingers along my arm, as if to reassure himself that I was real, that this was actually happening. At some point, I must have drifted off to sleep, because the next thing I knew, golden morning light was streaming through the windows, painting the room in a warm, hopeful glow. The storm had passed, leaving behind a world washed clean and sparkling with renewed life. Liam was still there, holding me as if he never wanted to let go. "Morning," he murmured, his voice husky with sleep. "Morning," I whispered back, my heart overflowing. He kissed my temple, his touch sending a shiver of pure joy through me. "Still crazy about me?" He smiled that smile, my favorite smile, and pulled me closer, his eyes shining with a love that felt both ancient and brand new. The sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. It felt like the world outside was holding its breath, waiting to see what we would do next. I shifted slightly in Liam's arms, feeling the warmth of his body against mine. It was a simple intimacy, yet it spoke volumes. "More than ever," I murmured, my voice still thick with sleep. Liam chuckled, a low, rumbling sound that vibrated through me. "Good," he said, his eyes sparkling with a mischievous glint. "Because I have plans for us, Elara. Big plans." I raised an eyebrow, a playful smile tugging at my lips. "Oh, really? And what kind of big plans are we talking about?" He shifted, propping himself up on an elbow, his gaze lingering on me with an intensity that made my heart race. "Well, for starters," he began, "I'm thinking we make this a permanent thing. No more separate apartments, no more borrowing clothes. I want to wake up next to you every morning, and I want you to be the last person I see before I close my eyes at night." My breath hitched in my throat. I had dreamt of this moment, of us truly being together, but hearing him say it so directly, so confidently, sent a wave of exhilaration through me. "Are you asking me to move in with you, Liam?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He grinned, that crooked, heart-melting grin that I knew so well. "Is that a yes?" A tear slipped down my cheek, but it was a tear of pure joy. "Yes," I breathed out, my voice filled with emotion. 1,000 times. Yes. Liam's grin widened, and he leaned down to capture my lips in a kiss that was both tender and filled with a promise of forever. It was a kiss that sealed our fate, binding us together in a love that had been years in the making. As we lay there, tangled in each other's arms, the sunlight warming our skin, I knew that the storm had brought more than just rain. It had washed away the last remnants of our doubts and fears, paving the way for a future filled with love, laughter, and a lifetime of happiness. And I couldn't wait to begin that journey with Liam, the man who had always been my best friend, and now, finally, my everything.